Give me your clothes.
Dude, are you like homophobic or something? Get the fuck away from me.
Talk to the hand. This one would need clothes. Bite me.
Whoa! Oh, sorry. Oh, Amy? Rory? Ha! Excuse me, gents. Wouldn't perhaps be able to tell me where I am?
Talk to the hand.
Hello, sorry. 1984, I believe. Yes. Ha! Oh, good. Fish casting never led me to the wrong place. Ha!
Can I help you? Or do you need to be disposed of?
Oh, you know, I thought the salutes were bad enough. If you're gonna start pointing guns at me, then, you know, look, what? I don't do violence. Does nobody understand? Is that it? We're just going to play charades now, are we?
Talk to the hand.
Oh, now this is just brilliant, isn't it? Whoop-de-doo. Oh, that is one great big kick up the backside for the T-800. You travel in time. You're messing with the Lord.
Have a nice trip.
Get out! Oh, for fuck.
What the fuck? To my review of
Terminator Genisys.
Apologies for the sort of bare background. I've been disposing of my room. I'm moving house. So yes, Terminator Genisys. Now, the plot, I'll do my best. It's a bit confusing, but I'll try my best. The plot is that Skynet the machines declared war on humanity. John Connor is the leader of the resistance, and he sends Kyle Reese, his father, back to an alternate timeline in 1984 to protect Sarah Connor. But little does he know that the future, that the past that he was told about by John is completely different, because Sarah Connor has already experienced Terminators. She has been with a Terminator since she was 9, and Kyle Reese is kind of there along for the ride, and she's with an old T-800 who's protecting her, and Skynet are launching this Genisys program, which is like this computer program which can link to life itself, and in doing so, that is of course what will destroy life. I mean, they've sent back a T-1000 as well, and it's really hard to explain, and that's about it really. That's about as much as I can explain. So, Terminator Genisys. Now, if you attempt to do a detailed plot synopsis, you are going to get completely lost. This movie is sort of a sequel, sort of a prequel. It's kind of a reboot, but here's the word to describe it. This is a word that Labyrinth 35 came up with. an in-betweequel. Yes, that's pretty much the only way to describe Terminator Genisys. It is an in-betweequel. You know, it's been 6 years since the previous film, so I don't think anyone was really anticipating this. We were just kind of hoping that it would be better than Terminator Salvation and Terminator 3. And thankfully, it is. So, you know, that was what I was happy about. I'm pleased to announce that it is actually slightly better than Terminator 3 and Terminator Salvation. The cast. You have Jason Clarke playing John Connor. Now, here's the thing. I liked Jason Clarke's performance as John Connor. I thought he was good, much better than Christian Bale and Nick Stoll. He's not as good as Eddie Furlong, but he's probably the second best John Connor. But the problem is the direction they took his character. I liked him at the beginning, and I thought he was great. He fit into the role nicely, but the direction they took the character was pretty poor. These reviews are spoilers, so you know you've been warned. The problem is that the writing. They basically wrote him as like, well, before in the previous movies he's like the shining face of this war. You know, he will be the one that will end Judgment Day and stop the war. But in this film, they turn him into the bad guy, which doesn't quite make sense to me. I mean, I was kind of sitting there thinking, why have they done this? There's not really a reason for them to do it. They could have just stuck with the T-1000 that they had at the beginning. And then, you know, Matt Smith's character turned him into a cyborg, which doesn't make all that much sense. So it's a little bit baffling, but you kind of have to roll with it. It's really weird. So yeah, I didn't particularly like that. But Jason Clarke did pretty well with what he had to do. Speaking of Clarks, you also have Emilia Clarke playing Sarah Connor. Now, this is the first actress to play Sarah Connor since Linda Hamilton, so a lot of expectations on this. I thought that she did rather well, and actually, kind of, if you look very closely, she kind of does look a little bit like Linda Hamilton, not completely, but there are similarities within the looks, which I think helps, and her performance is good as well, which helps. I like the fact that they just went straight to making her a badass and didn't show her as a waitress, because that would have been a rehash. So, I mean, this movie does kind of rehash certain lines and things from the original two films, and kind of tries to forget about the third and fourth movie, which I suppose is a good thing, really. Yeah, no, her character development was pretty good. How at first she kind of, you know, she had kind of like kind of harking back to Terminator 2, like she had that relationship with Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the kind of, you know, father-son thing that they had in the Terminator 2. They kind of replicate that for this film. I have Sarah Connor having like a paternal sort of sentiment towards Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800. So yeah, that's really nice, and her relationship with Kyle Reese is developed really well. Courtney as Kyle Reese, he's probably the weakest performance of the entire film, I have to say. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's not great. I felt that he was really only cast just for his looks and his figure. His acting was, it wasn't terrible. I mean, there were a couple of lines when he didn't deliver on the same level. His acting was inconsistent. That's, I guess, what I would say. But I mean, most of the time he was serviceable. You know, he was passable, I guess. But you know, a better actor could have taken the role. Of course, you have the delightful Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back as the Terminator, which is nice. Because in Salvation you didn't really see him. I know he's at the end, but it's a CGI version, and it wasn't great anyway. So seeing him in this movie, it's nice because we haven't really seen him properly in the role since Terminator 3, and that was like 12 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I like seeing the different versions of him. Like you see him, sort of the younger version to the older version, like to like the present version, like how he is now, which is interesting. I thought that was. It looks kind of weird though because he's older, but you know, he tries in the action scenes and stuff. I mean, and he plays the part well. It's the part he was made for. It's his signature role. So I think we can all kind of appreciate him in that light. And like I said, the relationship between him, his character, and Sarah Connor was done really well. It was one of the best aspects of the film. One of my favourite scenes was one of the fight sequences at the beginning where he fights himself, like a younger version of himself. It kind of wraps up a bit quickly though. It's the new T-800 versus the old T-800. It's the bit you see in the trailer when he says, "I've been waiting for you," like, and then they have a big fight, and you hear the theme, the dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool sequence. The action, of course, is as big and bloated as the previous films have made them. I mean, there's a lot of it though. The action is very overwhelming at times, and sometimes it can get a bit much. I mean, there's not really much breathing space. It kind of is jumping from action to action. There are some character moments, but not really as many as I'd like. I mean, I quite like J.K. Simmons' character, but I didn't really get the point of him, like why he was there. Like, there was some kind of explanation as to like he knew them in 1984 or something, but they didn't remember him. His character wasn't really fleshed out. The character development is pretty poor in this movie. I mean, there are a couple of characters, like I said, that are developed well, like Sarah Connor, Kyle Reese, and the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But beyond that, the supporting cast aren't really that developed. John Connor was developed, but in the wrong way. Like, Matt Smith is in the movie. For all you Doctor Who fans, Matt Smith is in Terminator Genisys, and he plays one of these sort of villain roles. I don't know the character's name, it was never mentioned, but he basically plays the kind of the changing face of Skynet. Essentially, he is the sort of the program face of Genisys, and I really liked Matt Smith. I think he did a good job with what he had. He only had like a couple of scenes. I mean, I really wish that they could have made him the central villain of the movie instead of John Connor. It's a bit weird seeing John Connor as the bad guy. I don't like seeing John Connor as the bad guy. Kind of disrespecting T2 a little bit in a way, because T2 was all about, John Connor preparing him to be the leader of the resistance. I mean, he was only a kid, but at the same time, it was great because he developed that sense of the real world and, his destiny. This kind of completely forgets about that. It kind of screws things up, which is a bit weird. But Matt Smith, he should have been the main villain. I don't quite understand why he wasn't. Nevertheless, he's good for the scenes he has. I mean, it's interesting, like that voice towards the end is him, like, and he looks good too. He looked right. Because I thought at the beginning when he kind of grabbed John Connor, I thought, okay, he's going to be our main villain, but no, he's barely in the movie. He's in the movie a couple of times, but it's nice to see him do something different though, instead of Doctor Who. So at least he's moving on with his career. What else is there? The pacing. The pacing's a bit hit and miss for me. There are times when it's paced pretty well. It started out pretty quickly. I mean, the first 20 minutes are pretty amazing and were pretty much showcasing what the movie should have been like the whole time. I wanted more scenes in the war. They kind of jumped very quickly to the time travel. The pacing is weird. There's a lot of action and it gets a bit tiring towards the end. But so maybe they could have shortened it by like 10 minutes, but no, because it was like 2 hours 10 minutes, so it was quite long. But it was good. The pacing wasn't too bad. You could sit through it and it'd be just about enough to manage. What was I going to say? Yeah, I would have liked to see more scenes during the future. That would have been nice. I mean, Salvation was set in the future, but the film was kind of crap. I mean, look, gee! The direction by Alan Taylor. Maybe he wasn't the best choice. He does a good job with the action sequences. But some of the character moments fall flat. Well, there's not enough character moments. I don't think he quite understands the balance of drama and action. There's not enough drama to back up the action. It's kind of like Jurassic Park 3. They just catapult the action on screen and that's it. I mean, it's certainly not as horrible in tone as the previous movie, and it's certainly not as cheesy as Terminator 3. So, tonally, it's fine, but it's just the direction. I mean, you know, it's just the direction of the certain scenes could have been stronger. I mean, the direction is mediocre at best. I mean, there are some good moments that are well directed, but a lot of the moments just kind of feel like, let's just try and make something out of it. It's kind of like they were winging it, I think, which is kind of an issue for me. But yeah, and the music was okay. Nothing amazing, nothing that's going to stick out in your mind, and they do use the original theme a couple of times, so thank God for that. And yeah, they use it in the credits as well. Yeah, and before any of you ask, I didn't stay till the credits. I didn't, so I'll probably get the movie on Blu-ray anyway, so I'll see it again during then. But yeah, no. Overall, the biggest thing I can say is that this movie kind of suffers from the time travel plot. I mean, when you introduce time travel, naturally it's going to be a bit confusing anyway. It kind of does what X-Men Days of Future Past did, but on a lesser level. X-Men Days of Future Past connected all of the X-Men films whilst keeping the story coherent, but it also stripped the other ones apart, you know, creating a new timeline. This kind of creates so many different timelines, or so many different things are changed, it's really confusing. The storytelling is messy. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's just really confusing. Like, seriously, they didn't look at the original films properly. It should have been in keeping with the other films more. I don't think it should have. It tries to be a reboot and then it tries to be something else. It tries to be so many different things. There's too much going on in this film, story-wise, structurally. There's too much going on. It needed to be simplified because your head is going to hurt when you watch this film. My head was pounding. I was like, what is this movie trying to do? It's trying to do too many different things. I mean, I enjoyed the film in certain scenes, you know, like the action. I enjoyed the action, but the other moments, I was just sitting there going, what's, you know, this, what? I mean, the world wouldn't have been any different if we didn't have the film. Overall, you know, it's a fun, disposable romp. Yeah, it's not going to rejuvenate the franchise in the way that, you know, we wanted to. I mean, the best thing I can say about it is that it's a mild improvement over the previous two films, so yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as good as James Cameron says. It's not the true Terminator 3, it's because it's starting a new timeline, so why would he call it the new Terminator 3? It's, you know, it's the new Terminator film. I mean, the great thing about the first two films is that, you know, they were fantastic movies with great stories, coherent, and kind of emotional as well. You could follow them, like it was a journey of characters as well. There were character-driven moments too, as well as the action moments, and you know, the kick-ass action scenes. The third one was just so cheesy for its own good, and it was a mess. And the fourth one was just ugly and horrible and like a Transformers rip-off. This, it's a bit of everything. There's a bit of Transformers there. There's a couple of cheesy lines. It has some stuff which made the previous two films bad, which is a slight issue. Not as much, but I mean, there's a moment when they're taken in, like, and then they have the pictures taken, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger tries to smile, and then they play Bad Boys, and it's like, is that really necessary? It's a bit cheesy, but overall, Terminator Genisys, it's okay. Storytelling is completely messy. It romps along. Overall, you're going to walk out of there feeling very confused and kind of baffled. I didn't like the direction they took John Connor in. Thought that was pretty poorly handled. The character moments were poorly handled, apart from a couple. Nice to see Arnie back. You know, it's kind of nice to go back, but overall, I think this will probably be the last one, given the reception that this movie's got. I think it's a franchise that's kind of run its course. It's run out of steam, and I think the ideas have kind of just catapulted into a splat of inaccurate timelines and, you know, incoherent storytelling. Well, the storytelling's not too incoherent. It's just confusing. It's hard to keep up. You have to. I would say to you, if you're not a fan of the Terminator films, you won't like this film. And if you haven't seen any of them, and you want to see this movie, then I would say go and see the first 4 films. Even if you're not going to like them, just go and see them, and then you can see this one. Overall, I'm probably going to rate Terminator Genisys 5 out of 10. I guess I forgot to mention the visual effects are good. That's one good thing, I suppose. The visual effects are entertaining, so I'm not gonna slate the movie on that. So yeah, it's okay, I guess. I mean, I wasn't expecting much. I mean, my expectations were fairly low. I mean, and I have to say they were met. All I expected was something better than the previous 2 films, and yeah, that's what I got. But it's a bit disappointing. But at the same time, you can't ever feel, okay, well, it could be worse. It could be, you know, like the previous 2, but nonetheless. So that is it. That's all I have to say about Terminator Genisys. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Put your comments down below. Let me know. And stay tuned next time when I do my ranking of the 5 Terminator films. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So, thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. Darks Alone. See ya.